Hey everybody, listen to the Katana Podcast with me, Invisible Katana, and today I wanted to talk about my favorite and least favorite con memories that I've had, because over the weekend I was at ROFCon, which is Ring of Fire Con. It's a small convention. It was only in its second year. It's in Virginia, and it was pretty cool. I was working there as a vendor this year, just like when I was at OhioCon, so while I'm actually doing this episode, I'm kind of doing this because I was so far behind when I went to OhioCon, because it was mostly because of schoolwork once I got back, and I was really thrown off by sleep schedule and stuff like that, which is even worse as a vendor than it was as an attendee. So I've been so far behind on these episodes in my podcast, so I figured while I was going through the footage for ROFCon, and that'll be in another episode, most likely the next episode, I'm hoping to go through all this footage I got and have that all, done and edited together by the end of the week. But, I figure while I'm going through that, I'll kind of have an episode still devoted to cons and just going through some of my favorite moments and some of my least favorite moments. And, of course, if you listen to this, I want to hear what you guys have as far as favorite moments or least favorite moments. Maybe you finally got to meet that voice actor you've been waiting to meet. Maybe you just had the random time of your life for whatever reason. It was a con you've gone to for years, and for some reason it was just a really great year. But whatever it was, I definitely want to know in the comment section down below, so please put that. To start things off is one that's very recent, a really good memory, and this was from Youmacon last year, 2014, and I got to meet Ian Sinclair, who is Space Dandy, and I love Space Dandy. That's like one of my favorite new anime. I'm still hoping, like, beyond hope, that there's going to be a film for the anime. Like, I really hope they have that, because it was such a short anime. It was like, it's made by the same guy who did Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop, so if you've seen both of those, it's kind of like, here's just like 26 episodes, and then that's it. And, for most anime watchers, it's like, crap, that's incredibly short. We have those other anime where it's like, 12 episodes, but I don't know, for some odd reason, it makes it different when a show has 12 episodes, and it's going to have 12, and it's like, here are the 12 episodes, and it ends. But it's really different when a show comes out, and it's like, here's, 14 episodes or something, or, 12 episodes, 13 episodes, and then a season 2 actually does come out, and here's the other 13 episodes, and then it's ended, and it's like, man, it really sucks that it only got 2 seasons, because obviously the show is amazing. It could have easily gotten more seasons, but unfortunately that's just how he decided to write. I can't think of the actual creator's name, but that's how he decided to do it. And I was like, man, it's one of my favorites. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It has some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen in an anime, and it has some amazing episodes that kind of just hit you with the drama out of nowhere, and it'll kind of blow your mind, because you'll think it's just like a really hilarious anime, and then they'll hit you with the serious drama, and it'll be like, holy crap. But it was really cool. I met Ian Sinclair, and that was really fun to me. I loved that. I got to take a picture with him. I loved the panel that I went to that he was in. It was him and Steve Bloom, and it was like a Space Dandy Cowboy Bebop panel, and that was really fun. I love both those shows. If they included Samurai Champloo, and it was like all the creations of the artist or the writer for all 3 of those anime, that would have been great too. But it was still an amazing panel. I loved that. Like I said, it was just a really fun time. Like, I had fun going to that panel. It was like the one out of the entire convention where I was like, this is the panel where it's like, you gotta see it. So I had a ton of fun there. That was really cool. And then, like I said, I got to actually meet Space Dandy himself. He said he liked my hat, which was really awesome to me. But that was really cool. That was probably my favorite moment of that entire convention. And that was on the last day, and he just happened to be in the dealer's room. And I asked him, I was like, could I get a picture with you? So that was really cool. It was like a last minute random thing on Sunday, and it was just like, boom, I got a picture with Ian Sinclair. So that was really cool. One of my favorites. Actually, at that con, there was another really great panel that I would definitely consider one of my favorites, because it was a Power Rangers panel, and Johnny Young Bosch was there, and it was some of the funniest stuff ever. He was telling some insanely hilarious stories about him and God, I can't remember the guy. I think Jason David Frank, who's Tommy, them like doing backflips and junk up a tree, and he like Jason David Frank like fell on his face because he ran up too high, and Johnny Young Bosch was like, he's falling on me, so he moved out the way. Them like in a speeding car, and he's like on top of the car, and Jason locked him out of the car. All sorts of silly stuff, and it was just funny. Like, it was a really funny panel, and we learned a ton of cool random stuff, like behind the scenes things where it's like, oh, that's cool, like just stuff that you wouldn't know from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was on in the 90s and stuff. It's like, obviously stuff that you just don't know. It wasn't a time back then where it's like, oh, here's us on set and boom, it's on YouTube or it's on Twitter where they take pictures behind the scenes or anything. This is the 90s where it's just like, you either hear about it or you don't. And I think especially for kids shows, for adult shows it may have been a little different, but for kids shows during that time, it's like, who the heck cares about behind the scenes stuff? Just for kids, give us the show. But it's a little different now with the internet and things like that. But it was cool. It was a really fun panel. We saw like some old promo footage of when they like first had the new Power Rangers come in, when Johnny Young Bosch first came in with the other two new people when they were switching out some of the Rangers and stuff. And it was so funny. Like, he was on screen and he was like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any bad things. And I don't know what it is, but Johnny Young Bosch saw himself say that, and he almost fell out of his chair. He was laughing so hard. And it was just a really fun panel to go to. And like I said, we learned all this crazy stuff, like, just them getting into the world of Power Rangers and experiencing that for themselves. And it was just fun. Like, it was just really funny. It was a great, silly panel that I definitely enjoyed. It was a really good time. And, there are definitely a couple of other panels that I could easily throw out there. I think one of them was during my last time at Youmacon as well, and that was I want to say it was a philosophy in video games panel. That was really interesting too. I enjoyed that, and there's not much to say about that one. It was just like, it's philosophy, so it's like you kind of had to be there to experience that. It was just about a lot of different theories and stuff, and how certain games kind of play around with those theories, or how you can attach specific theories of philosophy to one game, and then you could counter it with another theory and things like that. So philosophy, like, I personally enjoy it. If you don't, obviously if you're not a big fan of philosophy in any way, shape, or form, it probably would have bored the heck out of you. But I loved it. I thought it was a really cool panel. Learn, kind of go back and learn some stuff all over again that I learned a while back in like my early philosophy class when I first got in college. But that was a cool panel too. And then there's some other great ones that are out there. But I think one of my least favorite con memories, and it has nothing to do really with the con itself or anything that happened too much, like it wasn't anything that anyone could control, but going to Youmacon every year, which is in downtown Detroit for anyone who doesn't know, that takes place in October, like the end of October, and Michigan is one of those places we get cold weather, and fortunately in October it's not terrible, even though it's it's like at the very end of October, like during Halloween weekend. It's not bad. It's not like the worst thing in existence, so typically it's fine. But just the cold weather in general, like I said, it's such a random, minute little thing. But at Youmacon, and like this once again, obviously for people who don't go to Youmacon and know this, because it's expanded so much now, Youmacon isn't just in one building anymore. It's in the Renaissance Center in downtown Detroit, and then you go down the street to what is called Cobo Hall. And Cobo is really big, and so is the Renaissance Center, but the convention has just grown so much that they're actually able to split it up into two buildings, which is still really great for the con, because it just means it's getting bigger and bigger, which means, more people to come in, more stars and stuff like that for fans like myself, and obviously everyone else that goes out there. But I'm telling you, like, the cold weather, and it's one of those, like, it's a downtown, block, so it means it's way longer than a normal city block, and you're just walking down, and it's like, it is freaking freezing out here. And sometimes, with it being the end of October, it's probably raining at least a little bit. There have certainly been times where it was raining while I was outside filming or something, like when I first got to the con, and I'm kind of just walking around, go to the dealer's room, I got like some free space or something, and it's just like, crap, kind of sucks that it's raining. It wasn't raining hard at all, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but it definitely doesn't make it any easier. I know, for people who cosplay certain characters, I'm sure it was like a huge drastic difference, even though it was like really, really light sprinkles. But I'm sure just the tiniest bit of water can make a huge difference. And once again, for people that don't go to this con, it's on the river. Like, if you go outside of the convention center or, the Renaissance Center, if you go to the front, you go to, like, the last street that you can possibly go to. And then if you go out the back, or I guess technically that's where the last street is. But if you go out the back, if you go across the street, you're at the water. Like, there's a little river walk, we call it. And it's water. It's basically, because we're, if you don't know, Detroit is straight across from Windsor. And you can just see across, the water. It's right there. And if you're next to water during any cold season, or really any season in general, any air that comes off the water is much, much colder than just typical air, like going through some trees or anything like that. So I know for me, it didn't affect me too much. And also I'm used to it because I lived in Detroit for, most of my life. So I'm kind of used to it. I don't get too affected by it. But, for people, like, if you're going on, it's like, I'm going to be Luffy from One Piece or something, you probably had some serious issues with, the weather and even light sprinkles and the wind coming off of the water. That can have a serious effect on you, and it probably, kind of upset a couple of people. But, that's one of those things where it's like, it always sucks to deal with it. And that was one of the greatest things for the Midwest Media Expo, which is like Youmacon Junior at this point, and they have their second year coming up, which I just registered for. And if you haven't, and you plan on going to that, they actually extended online registration until March 10th. So it's, I believe, $45, or like $47 because you have to pay for the online fees as well, unfortunately. But it's still cheaper than buying it at the door, which I believe would be $55 or something like that. So, if you had plans on going there, definitely get online before the end of the week, or I guess before next Tuesday, or by next Tuesday, and definitely sign up, because otherwise you have to do it at the door. But I'm excited for Midwest, and that's one of the things, like, thank goodness it's gonna, at least it's in August, it's gonna be warmer. I remember last year, during the first year, it was like, unfortunately, during a cold weekend, and it was kind of like, like, me and my friends, we were all talking about, like, it's Youmacon Junior, it's in the summer and stuff like that. And it was like one of the cool weekends, and it was like, that kind of blows, because it was very similar to just being at Youmacon weather-wise. It was like, man, it kind of sucked for it to be like the first one. And we were all excited, like, it's going to be super hot, and it's the summer, and it's warm, and it's going to be all the fun of Youmacon, plus nice weather. And then it was, the fun of Youmacon and the same weather. So, still good. And also, obviously, it's much, much smaller the first year. But, that's one of those things. I'm hoping it is actually really warm. I hope it's, like, a really hot day this year, because I think the only other con that I've actually gone to where it's been warm has been ASIN, and I did that like 1 year with my friends, and we went, and it was actually fairly warm. I don't remember, it wasn't like really hot or anything, and I can't remember when ASIN exactly takes place, but it was still fun. Like, I enjoyed that. That was like that's really the only con I've been to all my life where it's actually been warm. Like, any other time, it's been Youmacon, and the two cons that I worked have been in the past couple of months. Like, I just went, to one over the weekend, so it was, it's still been during the winter. So I've only really experienced, like, cold cons so far, and nothing like amazingly warm places, or, in the summer or anything like that. So it's kind of funny, like, all my experience, my con experience has been just during either winter or fall, and if it's in the summer, it just happened to be like a colder day where it kind of felt like it was, the tail end of spring or something like that, or the tail end of summer or something. So, it's kind of one of those funny experiences that I've had, but it's not, obviously not like a terrible experience or anything, like a snowstorm comes in, or, anything like that. Like, the last one I went to, ROFCON, it was supposed to be like this huge storm in Virginia, and like, I heard that from like two separate people, like, oh, there's supposed to be a storm coming in, and the whole weekend was perfectly fine. It actually got warmer as the week went on, or the weekend went on, and I could see the difference in each day. Like, the snow would melt, and there was like snow on the trees when I first got to the hotel and stuff. By the next day, all that stuff was melted, and it was like, this isn't, really that bad. It's not that cold or anything. So I really love that, because it was just a nice warm little weekend that I experienced. And then, coming back to Michigan, it's gotten a little bit colder here. It actually snowed just yesterday. It was snowing early in the morning, and it was snowing pretty hard, but fortunately it's not too bad. Everything's kind of icy right now. It snowed, and then I guess everything got a little warm and then went right back to cold. So all this snow has like a thin sheet of ice on it that you can see. So that's kind of annoying, because everything is like pseudo soft, but you can just slip and slide all over the place. Like, if there's any snow, there's guaranteed to be ice like right next to it. So that's another thing. I almost fell like 8 times yesterday just walking. Like, there'd be a little bit of ice here, a little bit of ice there. Every time I've gone to my car, like yesterday and today, it's like I have to be careful because there's snow right here, but there was just enough snow to melt into ice. So it's been a little silly like that, but not too bad, not too terrible or anything like that. Definitely not any of the crazy wind chill. So that's without a doubt the most important thing as far as I'm concerned, because my battery froze a couple weeks ago because it was just so cold that the battery just couldn't make it. And my car was only off for one day, and it froze by the next morning, and that was just crazy to me. So kind of had to deal with that for like 2 whole days. It was completely frozen until it unthawed at least enough to where I could jump it. And fortunately now it's not insanely cold, so kind of back to normal. But to actually get back into the main point of what this podcast is supposed to be about, just some good con memories, or good/bad con memories. Not too many bad ones, like I said. That's why, like, I had like a cheap like weather thing, like, oh, cold weather is my bad example, because honestly I haven't had too many terrible memories. Sometimes there's just been years I've gone to the con, which is YomaCon for me, is like the one I go to every year because it's in my hometown. There's been some experience, mostly like with the last one. Like, every year it seems like something's a little bit different, and in the last one of the big issues I had was that there just weren't a ton of panels that I really, really wanted to see. And I'd have, like, normally when I would go to a con, it's like, alright, I might have half an hour each day where there was nothing happening, and it's like, alright, well, I'll spend this time either going to the dealer's room to kind of, scope around for the 15th time, or I would go to like the game room just to play some games or something, since it's the middle of the day. It tends to be a bit more empty during the middle than late at night to me. But, it was just one of those things where I really felt like a lot of stuff was, oddly spaced out last year at YomaCon, and it kind of bothered me just a little, because I had so much free time. It felt different. It felt like like I said, I still had a couple panels that I still really enjoyed, but a lot of them would be like either stacked on top of each other, and then I'd be forced to pick, so I couldn't, like, I'd have to split the time between, or there just wouldn't be anything, and then I'd have tons of chunks. Like, I'd have like hours every single day where it was like, not much really going on here. Like, I just have a bunch of free time, because everything would be I think the big thing was that everything, instead of it being an hour-long panel, last year at YomaCon, all the panels were an hour and a half, which was really awesome, because that was like the big advantage that I loved about that. And I'm pretty sure I talked about this when I did that podcast episode a while back, where it was like a great advantage, because if you did have to split your time, instead of it being here's 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, it was basically here's 45 minutes here and 45 minutes there. So that was always something I definitely enjoyed. That made it a little bit cooler, where you got a little bit more extra time, minus of course the walking if you had to go between the buildings, which always sucked. But that was one of the cool things I enjoyed about it. And then at the same time, it seemed like everything would always happen at the same time for me. Like, obviously, if you're into literally every single panel, you had something to go to at all times. But for different people, different things, you have different interests. So in some ways it worked out really well, where if, unfortunately, I just had no choice but to split the difference, I at least had a little bit of extra time. And if I spent 45 minutes in one place, I could actually get 30 whole minutes at the next panel instead of it being like 15, because it took, forever to go from, one building to the next. But, that was one of the things that did kind of bother me a little bit at the con. It was just like, I felt like there was just so much empty space for me that I had, when I was going around. So that did, unfortunately, kind of suck to me. Like, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much, but it was still a great con. Obviously, I'm going to go back next year, or I guess this year now. So I'm going to go back to that, because it's not like the con sucks or anything like that. I just had like a really weird experience with the timing, and there was a lot of extra stuff that went on with Youmacon last year as well that I heard after the fact, like some of the crazy stuff that happened, and people were basically forced to kind of pull their panels out. And so that's, I think, kind of the main reason a lot of that stuff went down. But that's definitely one of the, half good, half bad sort of experiences, where it was like, it's cool, all the panels are longer, you just get more time to enjoy a great panel. And then at the same time, with how everything ended up being balanced, there's just a ton of random free space where it's like, well, now I don't have a panel to go to. And after a while, you've seen the dealer's room enough times, or you've gone to the game room enough time. And that was another actually really fun memory I had with Youmacon last year, because they got even more games. They actually split up the game room, where it was kind of like most of the console games were in the normal area where they typically have them, and then they actually had a separate area for like all the arcade games. So I actually thought that was a pretty cool idea, and they allowed for more space in the typical room to have more consoles and more sort of LAN games and stuff like that for people who wanted to play the console games, like the Gears of War and all that stuff. And then for the arcade games, they weren't kind of spread out or anything. It was just like, boom, here's one whole room dedicated to, the Japanese rhythm games, or here's like, the Simpsons game, or the Ninja Turtles game, or Time Crisis. Everything was just in one, it was one little arcade room all together. And I thought that was definitely pretty cool. I actually enjoyed that. I guess just the way it looked, it made it pretty cool, because it really made it look a lot like an arcade, because, with the consoles mixed in with the arcade cabinets, it just looks like the dealer's room. But for some reason, when it's straight arcade games, it does make it look like an actual arcade. So it was, visually, it definitely looked pretty cool. And it was sort of an intimate little room, kind of off in its own space and stuff. It was basically on the other side of that floor, and I thought that was pretty cool. I actually enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed that quite a bit, actually. And this kind of popped into my head. Another bad memory I have, and this is an actual bad memory, and once again, it has nothing to do with the con. It just happened to be during the con weekend. I was at Youmacon. I believe it was 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. And actually, it may have been at Midwest last year. It was one of the cons. I honestly can't even remember. I think it might have been. I would assume Youmacon, just because that's the one I go to all the time. But it could have easily been Midwest. And I left Midwest one night because I wasn't staying at the hotel at the time. I left Midwest and I went and I met my girlfriend at her cousin's house. And, it was like, we were hanging out and stuff. And it's like, all right, I have my schedule, just like pretty much anyone who goes to a con. I have my schedule. I know pretty much what I want to do. I know what panel I want to check out, things like that. And that all got thrown off the next morning because my girlfriend dropped my phone, because she had it in her back pocket, and she dropped my phone in the toilet, and my phone was destroyed. So I had to like go and like get a replacement phone like that week. And I technically could have waited, but it's it's your phone gets destroyed. It's like, crap, I have to have a cell phone and stuff. So it was like, I missed out on, I believe it was a Legend of Korra panel, and it probably speaks to how nerdy I am that I remember what panel I missed, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I was like, crap, it was just like, I kind of have to get this phone. I have to get a replacement for my phone, because now it's a toilet phone. And that obviously sucks. That's a crappy memory to have, where it's like, I missed out a little bit on the con because, my phone fell in the toilet, and that just kind of sucked. That was something, totally nothing to do with the con, but like after that happened, I was just like, I should have just not have even cared, and I should have just stayed home and been like, I'm just gonna get up in the morning and go back to the con. But instead, I was like, I'm gonna have a little fun. I'm gonna drive out here and do this and do that, and then there goes my phone in the toilet. So that's another random one that I had, but. It had random things happen, good or bad. You go to a con, it can be bad because of the con, it can be bad because of random stuff like that. But, it never takes me out of the con mode. It never makes me want to stop going to cons or anything stupid like that. That'd be so extra if it was like, I don't want to go to cons anymore because one time my phone fell in the toilet. But, random things happen, and it's just like, that really sucks. That kind of... It put a little damper on the weekend. It may not have destroyed it or anything like that, but little random little things it can mess with you. So that's why I want to know what you guys thought, some of your favorite con memories and some of your least favorite con memories. Crazy moments in the middle of the night. Maybe you just had to get food, you're starving, and you just had a crazy adventure or something like that. I had that one time with me and my friends, and it was the end of the day, and it was crap. It was the end of the night, and it was past midnight and stuff, and we're like, what the heck are we gonna eat? Because even though it's downtown Detroit, it wasn't exactly 24/7 everything where you could just go and get food and stuff like that. And we had no idea what to do. It's we're gonna be starving and stuff. We're gonna be starving, and we have no way to get food because we couldn't have gotten pizza in time. It was they didn't do deliveries. They stopped deliveries and only did pickup. But we were too far away to walk in time. And it's what the heck are we going to do now? And we found out that the Five Guys around there actually stayed open until 3 a.m. So we all just were all right, let's go. And we got on what we call the People Mover. So it's basically just a little... it's our version of mass transit in a sense. It just goes in a big circle around downtown. But it's basically an above ground subway. And so we got on that, we went around, and we were able to get to the Five Guys. And, that place was, of course, packed with a bunch of other nerds and stuff. And it was actually really cool because I'd been there tons of times, and it's right by a casino. So it's I've been to Five Guys, that specific Five Guys, tons of times. There's a Fishbones, which I know Fishbones is a chain, but some chains go some states, some chains just... They aren't in all states, so that's a restaurant. And I've been there tons of times, and it was just funny to see such a huge difference. There were so many people. It was way more than the typical crowd, which is, even on a normal day, it's a lot because, of course, it's right by the casino. But it was really cool. We got to see some cosplays there, in Five Guys. And we all got to just sit down. We ate, and it was this is where we're going to be eating for the con if we happen to all decide to eat really late. But the next day, we worked that out the next time, and we just actually got pizza in enough time to actually eat it. So all of that was good. And for the most part, obviously with this episode, you heard there are very, very few bad con memories. Another really great one I had was the one time I did go to ASIN. It was awesome, but I found $20 or $30 or something just on the ground. We were actually... Oddly enough, we were going to spend money because we were going to McDonald's. It was the only place around where it was we wanted to spend money, and that was a trek. That was about half a mile or something because everything, of course, typically everything inside the hotel was incredibly expensive. Here's a burger and some fries, and it's $13 or something, and it's not even fancy. It's a small amount. So it was we were all right, let's go to McDonald's, let's take a walk. And I don't remember how it happened, but I think I was just looking down, or I felt that I stepped on something, and so I looked down because it was soft, and it's here's $30 extra that I found. So obviously that's a terrible memory for someone else, that they lost $30 on the way to McDonald's, or on the way back, possibly. Either way, less money at a con is always the worst, because it's now you can't... Maybe that was the money they were going to spend on something in the dealer's room or whatever, but it ended up being great for me. Unfortunately, it obviously sucked for them losing money. If you lose $1, it sucks, and I think everyone can relate to that. So yeah, it's just another great memory for me. But like I said, I want to know your biggest memories that you have from all the cons you've been to, whether it's good or bad. Maybe like I said, maybe you met somebody, maybe you just, one year was just like the greatest con. For whatever reason, everything just kind of flowed in a great way for you. Whatever it is, please put that down in the comment section below, because I definitely want to know some, crazy con memories. I definitely want to hear some from you guys, so please put that down in the comment section below. If you guys have any topics or anything like that you want me to talk about, whether it's nerdy or not, put those down in the comment section below as well. During this episode, I've been going through a little bit of my footage from ROFCon, so I have been going through that while I was doing the episode. That's what some of the clicks in the background have been, like that one, if you heard it. So I've been going through that a little bit. Mostly I haven't been, because I've been trying not to do too many clicks, so I've been going through a little bit. So I'm gonna, like I said, hopefully have that episode up by the end of this week, and it's gonna be very similar to my OhioCon stuff. Fortunately, I have some better footage from that because I was able to get a ton of great cosplay pics. So it'll be cooler than what I had for the OhioCon one, if you happen to watch that one. I got some actual pictures, because ROFCon, I mentioned early on, was only in its second year, so we actually weren't super busy, which was kind of good, but at the same time it kind of sucked, because obviously business wise it's not too great. But it allowed me to get some really cool cosplay pics, so definitely check that out when that's up. And if you happen to go to ROFCon and you're checking this out, tell me your experiences at Ring of Fire Con. So thanks for listening to this episode. Like I said, any comments, please put them down in the comment section below. And definitely check out the next part. I'll actually have some pictures up and video running for that episode. It won't be the typical one like this one. It'll be much more like the last OhioCon episode that I did, where it'll be footage and I'll kind of be narrating that, so I have to go through and make that entire video and then narrate that and just add the audio together. But thanks for listening. Thanks for listening, and check out the ROFCon one once that ends up going up.